I'm Rob Kanigel, and I wrote a book called The One Best Way, which is a biography of Frederick Winslow Taylor, who was the first efficiency expert. And he lived the late part of the 19th century, early part of the 20th century, and he changed the way we live. That's it in a nutshell.
In the book, you said that he has affected every person's life. How?
This is a man who started out in the machine shops and steel mills of the industrial Northeast and began a system of work measurement and work timing that at first was very narrow. It was very oriented toward these particular blue-collar environments, and did it for many years in Philadelphia and in New England. And then in 1911, almost overnight, became famous. And when a group of railroads had sought ICC permission for a big rate increase, the argument against the rate increase was, you don't need a rate increase. You can save $1 million a day by invoking the efficiency methods of this Philadelphia genius named Frederick Winslow Taylor. And overnight, everybody wanted to know about efficiency. They wanted to know about who is this man, Frederick Taylor. And pretty soon, efficiency was on every lip, and everybody was looking at ways to be more efficient, not just on the shop floor, but everywhere. And pretty soon, people were using these methods in offices, applying it to white-collar work, applying it to surgical operations of all things, applying it in engineering, in business, in libraries, in churches. It became universal, and people stopped thinking about where it came from. But it all started with this man, Frederick Winslow Taylor, and his efficiency schemes. And it didn't stop just in America. The peculiar thing about scientific management was that it seemed to cross the usual ideological barriers. It was embraced by both left and right, because basically the bargain that Taylor offered people was, you do it my way. You follow my scheme. You follow my precise instructions exactly according to what I write down. And I'll pay you handsomely for it. And there'll be more goods, there'll be more of the goodies that everybody wants, and people will be paid more. You just have to do it my way. And people wanted more. He came out of an environment in the late 19th century of scarcity, where people didn't have all the things that we take for granted now. And so Taylorism was embraced by both, to give you a sense of the extreme, Lenin, on the eve of the Russian Revolution, went in the pages of Prague to say we need to use the system of this man Taylor. And Mussolini, a fascist in the 1930s. And during the 19-teens and 1920s in America, Taylor was considered a progressive impulse, he was considered progressive. And yet in the years since, many people have decried Taylor as being, totalitarian stripe, because in many ways he was.
What was lost through Taylorism?
I think what was lost in Taylorism was the quality of people's work. Not all people, lots of people. The people who Taylor made into planners and experts made out great. They were doing very often more interesting work. But all the people who were given the precise orders and given the times in which they had to do their work lost, to use a $5 word, autonomy, a say-so over their work, a control over the work, the being in a position to make decisions, large and small, about how to direct their work.
How did you become a writer?
How did I become a writer? I was walking down the street one day, this is almost literally true. In 1970, I had been, for a few years, I had been an engineer. And I had quit that. And I was walking down the street one day, and I passed an underground newspaper, the offices of an underground newspaper in Baltimore. And I walked in there, and I told them about all the things I was thinking of, about what was going on during the 60s. And he commissioned me to write this little series of articles, and I did, and that was the start, and I've been writing ever since. First magazine articles and essays and reviews, and then for about the last dozen years or so, books.
What's your current project?
My current project is a history of tourism, a history of travel and tourism through the lens or the prism of a single place. To take one place and see, and the place that I'm thinking of is Nice in France, is to take one place and see, and if you imagine a parade, a procession of travelers and pilgrims and merchants and soldiers over the centuries, what I'll be doing is using this place and that procession to tell the history of tourism.
That's very interesting.
I think so.
When's it due out?
I have to write it first.
Oh, does it have a title yet?
No. I might call it Destination, and the subtitle I'm flirting with is How One Charming and Historic Place Seduces Travelers and How the Tourists Love It Right Back.
I think that's wonderful. Any hints or recommendations for aspiring writers out there?
Well, just the usual stuff. You don't learn to write by thinking about writing, or reading about writing, or going to writers' conferences. The only way it comes is just by doing it an awful lot. Write. That's really what it comes down to. The conventional wisdom happens to be true. And I guess the other thing is to get hold of, after you've been at it for a while, to get hold of somebody who's in a position to sort of lift you up a little bit, to sort of, who's just beyond you, sort of a mentor, who's in a position to warmly and caringly, but at the same time critically, help you to see where your writing can be improved.
Who's your mentor?
I had
Or could you describe your mentor?
She was a woman named Elise Hancock, who was an editor for a university magazine in Baltimore, Johns Hopkins Magazine, who was a brilliant editor. And I had been writing for about, I guess about 6 or 7 years, sort of struggling along, managing, when I started work for her. And pretty soon we were locked in these this is before computers had taken over, so we were working over the paper, shoulder to shoulder, going over the manuscripts that I had prepared. And she's a tough cookie. And she saw through all my little mannerisms and all my little affectations, and I think helped me to eliminate at least a fair number of them. I still struggle with it, obviously, but I often feel her over my shoulder.
That's wonderful. Do you mentor anyone?
I teach writing also at the University of Baltimore in their publications design program. And so I teach one class a term. There's usually about 15 students in it, and there's usually one or two that are pretty good with whom I develop a close relationship than just grading their papers and so on.
That's great. Anything you'd like to tell our viewing audience?
Just a wonderful world out there. Appreciate it.
Robert, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.
Take care.